This year, TYT's been making a lot of moves. Now you can too. Now, how are you going to do that? You want to launch a new business? That sounds fun. You're going to change careers? Geez, Lord mercy. You're going to need a website for all that. Lucky for you, Squarespace also making moves. You're going to go to squarespace.com/TYT. You're going to get 10% off your first purchase, and you're going to get to build anything you want on that website with a unique domain. What are you, crazy? Go do it now. Go. All right. Okay, I don't know what that means. We got a great show ahead for you guys today, and we have a fun announcement in the second hour. I think we usually deliver on our fun announcements, so that's coming up. And on the issue of parity for in terms of pay for women and men in the movies, there's a story out today that made me see things in a little bit different light. And I think it might do the same for you guys. And I think it's really, really interesting. That's in the second hour. I don't want you to miss that. And then also in the second hour, Oprah, is she going to run or not? She has a statement. It appears definitive. Well, what is it? Okay. All right, second hour. And then later in this hour, is Bernie going to run? Big article about that today. Apparently there was a huge meeting. Huge. Interesting. Okay, so we'll do that later in the program. Now, I appear to be in a good mood. That will change rapidly as we go to the next story about how the Democrats have caved in again. Go. So last night, Politico reporting that we have yet another cave-in by the Senate Democrats. So you remember, of course, the budget showdown, and there was a quote-unquote deal made, and in that deal, the Democrats appeared to have gotten very little. Now, at the time, though, I said, look, let's be fair. It's only a 3-week extension. It's not like they made the actual deal itself. They're still going to have to deal with this on February 8th. And they got CHIP in there, Children's Health Insurance, which was bipartisan to begin with. Anyway, the Republicans had recently taking it hostage, taking out the funding. So they played that game, and so they got that. But if it turns out that when the actual budget happens 3 weeks from now, they then get the DREAM Act in there and deliver as they have been promising all along for the Dreamers, and make sure that those 800,000 folks can stay in the country who are in good standing, well, then that would be a different story. Well, it looks like the jury's beginning to come in on that. So here's Politico. Senate Democrats are willing to drop their demand that relief for Dreamers be tied to any long-term budget agreement, a potential boost for spending talks, but one that could face opposition from their House counterparts. These Senate Democrats are amazing. I don't think they have any sense of what's going on in the outside world. They live in their own bubble, and they talk to one another like, do you want to cave in? Oh yeah, of course, yeah, me too. Yeah, you want to cave in too? Oh, we've got elections coming up. So what? So do the Republicans. And if you hold strong, you might actually defeat them. Oh, we have elections coming up. Look, you should be looking forward to elections. You should be looking forward to making your case. But they're so scared constantly. The other bubble they live in is for 4 to 5 hours a day, all they do is talk to donors. They're almost all millionaires. What do you think we should do? Oh, we should cave in because you don't want the stock market affected. No problem. Can do. All right, so let me give you more here. Dick Durbin, number 2 Democrat in the Senate, which is already, that's your number 2 Democrat, and Schumer's your number 1. What pillars of strength they are. Okay, he says, we're viewing immigration and spending on separate terms because they are on separate paths. So I need to explain what that means to you guys. That means we're going to do the budget first, and later Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump have promised to us that we will handle the Dreamer issue. Later, after we have lost all of our leverage. The leverage is that Republicans need Democratic votes in order to pass the budget. So they're going to give away that leverage and then rely on the goodwill of Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump. They say this with a straight face. And that's after Trump already bragged and the Republicans already bragged after the 3-week deal and spiked the ball in their face and said, ha, you losers, you caved in, we won, you lost. And they go, okay, you're right, we're gonna cave in again. By God, have at least some self-respect, even if you don't care about any of your constituents, even if you don't believe in any progressive priorities. And by the way, they definitely do not. I told you in an earlier story earlier in the week, turns out that all this time, the Dreamers were nowhere near their top priorities. They said it was a minor issue. What they were actually concerned about and why they shut the government down, or along with the Republicans for 3 days, was because they wanted to show the Republicans that they felt personally insulted because they were not consulted. Oh, so it was about your power and privilege. And now we know for sure, because when it comes to the Dreamers, right onto the bus. So a senior House Democratic aide says, on the other hand, we are insisting that these things be in the same negotiation. To us, what's important is, are these talks linked or not linked? To us, they are linked. So that is good news from the House Democrats saying we do not agree with the Senate Democrats. When the House Democrats think you're too weak, oh boy, you really ought to check yourself in the mirror. Okay, more from Politico. Negotiators have already agreed to a massive boost to the Pentagon's budget. This is the sprinkle on top. While the figures are still in flux, multiple sources say Congress would raise military spending by at least $70 billion above the caps for fiscal 2018 and $80 billion in fiscal 2019. As Politico explains, that is much higher than what Donald Trump requested. Donald Trump requested a massive increase in defense spending, and the Democrats are now working with the Republicans to say, not enough. Let us give you more. Not only are we not going to get anything in return, we're not going to get the Dreamers. We didn't get that. But there's the issue of the domestic spending and the defense spending, and if you give us normal defense discretionary spending, we're not going to ask for the things you took hostage earlier. We're just going to give you more and more defense spending. You know why? Because we think, what a bunch of losers, right? They get nothing in the deal. But you have to understand something. They're also corrupt. They also want the extra money to go to defense contractors. Why? Because the defense contractors are also their donors. That's why they're giving, that's not something that they have gotten in return. They're happy to do more wasteful spending in defense because they're the same, they have, in that case, the same exact donors. Dreamers, are you guys donors? Do you give millions of dollars? Oh, you don't. Well, golly gee. The Senate Democrats happen to find you underneath a bus. The guys who do give them millions of dollars, well, they're going to get billions, tens of extra billions in return, on top of what Trump asked for. Funny how that works. But yet, television, money in politics, is it an influence? Still the sound of silence. Did they do a good job of negotiating? What are their priorities? What do they care about policy? They don't give a goddamn thing about policy. Aren't you sick and tired of Democrats that you have to push and beg and plead to be progressive? To for once take a progressive position. Nope, they're not gonna do it. And even after all that pushing and begging and pleading, they still don't do it. Oh, it's easy to do Mick resistance. Oh, Russia. Now, whether you think Russia had to deal with Trump, and I do, but that's easy to say, man. So I care about it in terms of substance. But for the Democrats, it's a punchline. It's a distraction to make sure that you don't talk about policy. I have a revolutionary idea that apparently no one agrees with. I think you can talk about Trump's deal with Russia and policy. Because the point of that is not like, ha, we got you. The point of it is Trump is a dangerous guy. And if he actually did a deal, we should get rid of him. But so that the eventual goal is policy. I don't give a damn if Dick Durbin wins in another election. What has he done for us? Nothing. What do I care about Chuck Schumer's power? Why would I give a damn? He doesn't give a damn about you. Why should we give a damn about him? But they assure us, no. We got elections coming up. So you better make sure you vote for us. Because if we win in 2018, then we'll fight for the Dreamers. Oh, come on. Piss off already. How many times have we heard this for 40 years? Oh, give us more. Give me more power, give me more privilege, and then maybe at the end of that I will give you. Look, you had super majorities under Obama. Why didn't you deliver for all these people then? You spent all that time working on a Heritage Foundation Mitt Romney plan on health care, and then brag to the ends of the earth, we have fixed health care. That was the beginning. All you got in a supermajority was the beginning on one issue. All the rest, nothing. Oh, don't worry, elect us more, and then you'll get it. No, we've seen that movie before. As I told you, Politico explains that defense spending is, quote, a huge increase and, quote, much more than the White House's most recent budget request. Congratulations, you gave Donald Trump more than he asked for. Guys, you must be so proud. What a great bunch of negotiators. To make Donald Trump an incompetent businessman who went bankrupt 6 times, a man clearly lacking any intelligence at all, to make him look like a good negotiator, how pathetic, stupid do you have to be? And most importantly, craven. Senator Patty Murray, another member of the Democratic leadership, said that although she would prefer a deal to protect young undocumented immigrants be part of the budget negotiations, the agreement reached with McConnell could make that impossible. The Kentucky Republican has said the Senate would turn to an immigration bill only if the government is still funded, and a few Democrats seem to want another shutdown. I can't take these guys, man. I can't. So she says, well, it's impossible because McConnell said that he doesn't agree. Yeah, that's because he's on the other side. You're also supposed to say, I don't agree. I'm going to fight for my side. Instead they go, oh, McConnell says we can't do it. Well, I guess then we can't do it. It's impossible. It's impossible. Losers, paid to lose. She says she would prefer to help the Dreamers, but she won't. She won't fight for them. Fight? No, I have elections coming up. My precious beloved ass is on the line. Schumer, Durbin, Murray, all of them, okay? February 8th, we're gonna have, Patty Murray says, we're gonna have another stopgap bill, but we have to have that budget agreement in order to move forward. That's the goal. And then the deal is that if DACA is not part of that, then it will be the next thing considered. In other words, we're gonna take Mitch McConnell's word for it. We're gonna give away all of our leverage because we like to lose and our donors are super happy when we give the Republicans everything they want. And then after we lose, and then they rub it in our face a little bit more, Trump is gonna brag and brag. Where the fuck is your resistance? When it comes to policy, never, no resistance. Oh, let's do a rally. Hey, vote for me. No, corporate Democrats, you're all corrupt, no interest. So they say, oh, what were my chances? I got people on Twitter going, but Cenk, be reasonable. How could they have possibly fought? They had to lie down again. They had to lie down and go to sleep. How could they possibly fight for us? Under these circumstances, let's show you budgets, the Trump's approval ratings. He's sitting at 36% approval. That's miserable. 58% of the country disapproves of Donald Trump. You can't fight a president that unpopular. Clean up, go home, retire immediately. Retire immediately. If you say, oh, I got elections, there's a guy on the other side with 36%. What do you want, 26%, 16%? Oh, come on, man. Okay, so that's the other side. And they're running like cowards from a guy who has 36% while pretending to do resistance. And how about on DACA? Well, maybe DACA is unpopular. Maybe this DREAM Act is, hey, it's a decent thing to do, it's a moral thing to do, it's the right thing to do, it's the economically correct thing to do, but maybe the American people don't want to do it. Get a load of this. This is a new poll from CBS. 87% of Americans said they believe that the so-called Dreamers should be allowed to remain in the US if they meet certain requirements such as working or going to school. And that is the deal, that's DACA. You have 87% of the American people on your side. And you still won't fight. That is a white flag of surrender. That means we will never fight for you under any circumstance. The other side is abhorrent. The guy we're pretending to resist, he is deeply, historically unpopular. Our side is historically popular, and we still won't fight.
We need to talk about a relatively new show called the Republic, or UNFTR. As a Young Turks fan, you already know that the government, the media, and corporations are constantly peddling lies that serve the interests of the rich and powerful. But now there's a podcast dedicated to unraveling those lies, debunking the conventional wisdom. In each episode of On the Republic, or UNFTR, The host delves into a different historical episode or topic that's generally misunderstood or purposely obfuscated by the so-called powers that be, featuring in-depth research, razor-sharp commentary, and just the right amount of vulgarity. The UNFTR podcast takes a sledgehammer to what you thought you knew about some of the nation's most sacred historical cows. But don't just take my word for it. The New York Times described UNFTR as consistently compelling and educational, aiming to challenge conventional wisdom and upend the historical narratives that were taught in school. For as the great philosopher Yoda once put it, "You must unlearn what you have learned." And that's true whether you're in Jedi training or you're uprooting and exposing all the propaganda and disinformation you've been fed over the course of your lifetime. So search for UNFTR in your podcast app today and get ready to get informed, angered, and entertained all at the same time.
Primaries. You better get out there and vote in primaries. Don't listen to cable news telling you, general election, when you have two, you got the lesser of two evils. You got two losers. You got two corporate guys who basically agree to the same thing. Primary the living hell out of them. Look, Justice Democrats. So that is one option for you guys. They are uncorrupted. None of them are taking corporate PAC money. You can think whatever you want, look into their policy positions, go to their websites, justicedemocrats.com. But at least you know they're working for you and not for corporate donors, because they don't take corporate donors. You want to go to another group, bless your heart. You want to go to other candidates, bless your heart. Find candidates who do not take corporate PAC money, otherwise they will never, ever work for you. So I have them on all the time. Rebel headquarters. We do that right after the Young Turks. We do it at 8 o'clock every night right here on tytnetwork.com/live. Go to youtube.com/tyt politics. Listen to all the interviews. Some of them are Justice Democrats. Some of them are not. But they're actual progressives. And you don't have to beg them to be progressive. They're already progressive. I know that it seems like, oh my God, if you're a progressive in America, you have to bow your head and just ask for crumbs off the table. You don't. The way you do hardball politics is you beat them. You crush them in the primaries. None of these guys are ever going to work for you. And if you don't get out there and you don't register and you don't go to those primaries and you don't defeat these guys, then don't come crying in general elections. And then just stop watching, stop following news. If you're not going to get up and fight, get up. Take all these corporate Democrats out during the primaries. Go to justicedemocrats.com if you want. Go to wolf-pac.com to get money out of politics. This is grotesque. I'm so tired as a progressive, constantly asking our supposed representatives to represent us. It is exhausting. Why don't we just defeat them and get wouldn't it be amazing to get actual progressives in the Senate and in the House? You have a couple, like we get Bernie, we're like, oh my God, Bernie. They say, why do you love Bernie? Because he's the one guy you don't have to convince to be a progressive. He's been progressive for 40 years. You think Dick Durbin, Patty Murray, Chuck Schumer, Dianne Feinstein, Joe Manchin, you think any of these people are progressive? Mick resistance. Oh, yay, let's go to a rally. Please vote for me. Meanwhile, I'll give Trump everything he wants and then some. That's how these losers are. Well, great, let them lose in primaries. Every one of you better go out there and vote in those primaries. Take them all down. I don't know if you can tell that I'm frustrated with them. They're the worst of the worst. To lose to goddamn Trump. To fucking give up to Trump. Jesus Christ. Okay. All right, let's turn to Trump. I'm not in much of a mood to do this story because it's a goofy, fun story about an idiot Donald Trump. But every time I look at Trump, that fucking loser, and to see the Democrats buckle into him, loser of fucking losers. And then Bernie, why are you fucking shitting me? Who lost to this moron, this fucking idiot? Who lost to this fucking idiot? He barely has 2 brain cells to rub together. Hillary Clinton, the Democratic says, oh, we're so smart, we got a great strategy. We're not going to talk about policy at all, okay? The American people, they don't want any change. We're going to fight for the status quo. The only people dumber in the country than Donald Trump is the Democratic Party officials. They lost 1,000 fucking seats to the Republicans. 1,000 seats across the country. They got more votes in the Senate elections than the Republicans did overall. Same in the House, same in the White House. Yet they have none of those branches of government. Losers, losers, losers. Pathetic fucking losers. Oh my God, they gerrymandered. I didn't see that coming. God damn it. Okay. Look, guys, I'm on a warpath. I'm not going to do this story. We'll come back and do this story. You go over here for a second, okay? Look, guys, you got to fight, okay? I know you hear me say it, but you talk about revolution. You put on a resist shirt. You put on a revolution shirt. You want to, but then you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to get up off the couch. Join any group you like. I don't care which group. Okay, I do care. There's some groups that are better than others, but it doesn't matter as long as you're doing something. And so look, volunteer, register, vote. And I don't mean like this fucking establishment. Wait for the general election, vote between two assholes. Okay? Yeah, when you get to the general election, then choose the lesser of the assholes. But that's not the important part. The important part is primaries. Get out there, vote for it. Look, guys, an hour a week. It's not too much to ask for, an hour a week. And you might be energized by it. You might be shocked by how much you like it. Look, at Rebel headquarters tonight, I'm going to talk to guys from Wolfpack, 3 different volunteers from Wolfpack, okay? They're fighting all across the country. One of them is a chemist. The other one is a cook at IHOP. And you know what he did? He got up. He got up and he said, I'm going to fight for democracy. You got to see his story. And you can make your own stories. We're going to try to feature you guys out there volunteering, working for these different campaigns. If I got to talk about Allison Hartson every day to defeat Dianne Feinstein, if that's the one thing I can do, then I'll do it. Whatever you got to do, you can't sit there and complain and not get up and do something about it. So, look, what I know is JusticeDemocrats.com. I know those candidates are wonderful. I know they're uncorrupted. I know Wolfpack's going to get the 28th Amendment and get money out of politics. So join the fight, okay? Young Turks. You're right in the middle of this podcast. We got another great segment coming up for you. If you'd like the full show, which is actually 5 segments, go to tytnetwork.com/join. You become a member, you support the show, you support independent media, and you get the whole 2-hour show ad-free every day. Let's go do it now. All right, back on the Young Turks. TJ Philp writes in, quote, why is Bernie the most popular politician in America? Senate Dems ask themselves as they sell out the American people again and again and again. Chris Allen says the Democrats are dead. Sarah Mack says, I love Cenk's outrage. It most accurately depicts how we feel inside about the weak corporate Democrats. Let's clean house. These guys have got to go. My loathing and disdain for them is at a maximum potential. And they don't get it at all. Edwin and I were just talking about it. They don't get it. They said, we're like, what do you mean? Well, of course we have to surrender. What else could we do? Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. All right, here, we'll show you what you can do. Let's go to this story. Interesting story out of Politico about a meeting that Bernie Sanders and his supporters had. Bernie Sanders convened his top political advisors in Washington on Saturday for a planning meeting that included a discussion of the feasibility and shape of a possible 2020 presidential campaign. Half a dozen senior Democrats familiar with the gathering confirmed to Politico. Look, we'll see how it turns out, but run, Bernie, run. The top line message the Vermont senator received from the operatives gathered during the government shutdown was a more formal version of the one they've been giving him regularly for months. You would be one of the front runners for the Democratic nomination, and if you want to run, it's time to start seriously planning accordingly. Run, Bernie, run. So, look, I want to explain something because Bernie Sanders and his staff, they also live in Washington. And now they've been fighting Washington 40 years. That's why they're not very popular within Washington. And that's also why they're incredibly popular in the rest of the country. But still, they live in that subculture. So there's a discussion about how he would be one of the favorites. No, you're wrong about that. He is the overwhelming favorite. So I don't base that on the fact that I agree with Bernie Sanders. I base that on reality, polling. Every poll shows he's the most popular politician in the country, nearly twice as popular as Donald Trump. Well, can't you read polls? Well, apparently the mainstream can't read polls. People that live in Washington are incapable of reading polls. They look at it and they immediately skip Bernie and they go, okay, who's next? Oh, we got Biden and we got Warren and we got Harris and Booker. And so, why did you skip the guy at the top? Well, no, because Bernie can't win. I've talked to reporters, I've talked to people in Washington. They're all like, Bernie, Bernie, he can never be president. I kind of remember them saying that about someone else. You guys remember who that might be? Oh yeah, Donald Trump. Didn't they assure us that he could never ever be president? And weren't they completely 1,000% wrong? You know, and in June of 2015, I said on this show that Donald Trump would win the Republican nomination. You know why I said that? Not because I like Donald Trump. I hate Donald Trump. Because I can read a poll. I'm not some sort of fortune teller. It's not that hard. You read the goddamn poll. He's a clear front runner. And the second thing that they are discounting because of their own enormous bias in this case is that he now has the advantage in terms of name recognition and brand. In 2016, he closed a 60-point lead on Hillary Clinton. He started at 2% and almost caught her. But what was the main reason he didn't catch her? Because she had enormous name recognition and he didn't have any when he started. It took him a year to get there. Now, the shoe's on the other foot. Who's Kamala Harris? Klobuchar. Who's Klobuchar? Klobuchar? Okay, everybody knows Bernie Sanders. But the people in Washington have their blinders on. They're like, no, it's definitely not Bernie, definitely. Who's next? Who's number 2? Who's number 8? I got to find somebody. Oh, number 9, look at that. Maybe it's Gillibrand. No, it's the guy at the top. It's the guy at the top with all the name recognition, with all the love, with all the support, with over 80% of Democrats who support him. We got people online talking about, oh, Bernie shouldn't split the vote. No, you shouldn't split the vote. He's the leader. So even to his own staff, I got to tell you this. You guys aren't getting it. He's the overwhelming favorite. If he runs, his likelihood of winning is enormous. You're looking at the next president of the United States of America. Assuming that he decides to run, he's healthy. So if he doesn't run, the 2020 Democratic primaries are a mess. Okay, and I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a field of 15, 20 people, whatever. And I think a progressive will rise up and could still beat some of these establishment guys that'll have hundreds of millions of dollars. But if Bernie runs, it's not going to be close. All this talk of like, oh my God, who's it going to be? Which corporate Democrat is going to raise more money? And all these guys, they'll all talk about the money. Oh, like, oh, Gillibrand raised this and Kamala Harris raised that. You're missing the picture. You've got your overwhelming favorite. He's right there at the top. Okay. Now, multiple Democrats close to Sanders insisted the meeting was not solely a 2020 planning session. That's fine, and they did. They apparently talked about 2018. Of course they did, because he's up for re-election as a senator of Vermont in 2018. Did they and should they talk about 2020? Of course they should. All right, now, more context here. Sanders has remained toward the top of the polls. I love Politico, toward the top of the polls, surveying the potential Democratic field without fail after a stunning 2016 bid. And he has been working methodically to address major issues that plagued him politically last time, voting up on foreign policy and making nice with a series of party power brokers. He also visited both Iowa and New Hampshire multiple times in 2017, a traditional sign of a possible run. Now, when I say I love Politico, I don't mean that literally, it's sarcastic. So, look, from time to time, they do good reporting and they get you good information, and this is good information and kudos to them. But the mindset, they also live in Washington. The mindset is Bernie's problems was not name recognition, was not that every television station in the country said that Hillary Clinton had an overwhelming lead before anyone cast the vote because they counted the superdelegates early. It was not the framing, was not the lack of debates, was not any of that. To them, oh, he had foreign policy issues. Really? How many Democrats were like, oh man, I'm not sure that I agree with Bernie Sanders' position on Pakistan. I've got concerns about that. Where's your polling to justify that? It doesn't matter. Replace Pakistan with Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Israel, Russia. It does. Where's your polling to suggest that Democratic voters had issues with his foreign policy? You don't have that. Democratic voters, in general, love his foreign policy. You say that because you think Bernie Sanders, he's not as good on foreign policy as Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was great on foreign policy. That's why she, got killed. Totally lost to the worst candidate we've ever seen in our lifetimes. Okay, and then the second part is he's got to make nice with a series of party power brokers. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Bernie, don't do that. Don't do that. Do not make nice with Chuck Schumer and Dick Durbin and Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein. Don't do that. That is a path to disaster. That's a trap. The American people are not interested in those people. That's why you poll way higher than them. Because people don't like them, because they don't work. Those guys don't represent them. You represent them. Do not listen to the politicos of the world. If anything, it won't help you. It'll hurt you to get those guys behind you. And it's a trap anyway. They don't want you to win. They're going to try to lure you in with, Bernie, and they did here. We're going to put you in leadership. Not actual leadership. We're going to make up a title for you, Bernie. Are we going to actually listen to you on policy? No, we're going to pat you on the head and put you in the front, get a big crowd, and then have you step aside and have us do nonsense Mick resistance and never, ever listen to you on policy. So don't listen to those guys. Run, Bernie, run. Do what you've been doing for the last 40 years. Fight for progressives. And finally, Politico notes, the next day, he hosted a town hall event focused on his Medicare for All proposal that drew over 1 million viewers online. I believe I saw that somewhere. We've been right all along. All the way back in 2013, I said that Bernie Sanders could beat Hillary Clinton. People thought I was nuts. They thought he's a tiny little guy. He's never going to amount to anything. He's 2 to 3%. That's all he's ever going to get. Well, they were wrong. He almost did beat Hillary Clinton. He did now what Politico acknowledges is a miraculous, stunning race in 2016. Now he's the clear favorite. We said that if you go online, you'll get more viewers anyway. 1 million people watch that. We were right about that. Broadcast here on the Young Turks and a couple of other outlets like Now This and Attention. You don't need those cable news guys. They're never going to agree with you. All the money in politics that you're fighting against goes to the cable news and the television guys in the form of advertising. They're not on your side. They're against you. Just go to the people. Don't worry about anybody in Washington. Don't worry about any power brokers. Go to the people and run, Bernie, run. Okay, I'm clear. Let's go forward. Okay, now Oath Keepers. Okay. Is Donald Trump going to talk to Robert Mueller and answer questions about the Russia investigation? When asked about this in an impromptu get-together with reporters, he just stumbled into it. He was at the White House. They were over at another office, and Trump comes by. And staffers, you could almost see them going, no. So he comes by and they say, hey, are you going to talk to Mueller? He says, I'm looking forward to it, actually. Great. Can't wait. He says, here's the story, just so you understand. There's been no collusion whatsoever. There's no obstruction whatsoever. And I'm looking forward to it. Oh, please talk to Mueller. Please, 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 please. Okay, so he thinks he's going to outsmart Mueller. I got more on that in a second. Oh, that's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. But then here's the most important part. But would you do it under oath? Because if you lie under oath, that's a crime. Quote, I would do it under oath. Absolutely. Now, here was his Republican allies' reaction to that quote.
At TYT, we frequently talk about all the ways that big tech companies are taking control of our online lives, constantly monitoring us and storing and selling our data. But that doesn't mean we have to let them. It's possible to stay anonymous online and hide your data from the prying eyes of big tech. And one of the best ways is with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from eavesdroppers and cyber criminals. And it's also easy to install. A single mouse click protects all your devices. But listen, guys, this is important. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET and Wired magazine. So take back control of your life online and secure your data with a top VPN solution available, ExpressVPN. And if you go to expressvpn.com/TYT, you can get 3 extra months for free with this exclusive link just for TYT fans. That's expressvpn.com/TYT. Check it out today.
Oh, did you?
We ruined Then he asked about Hillary Clinton. Did she do it on? He said she didn't do it under oath when she talked to the FBI. But he continued, but I would do it under oath. I would. Okay. Great. Have at it, Hoss. Can't wait. Now, I don't believe him, as I'll explain at the end here. But just so you understand, under oath is usually in front of a grand jury. He's never going to do that. But it's okay. He doesn't need to be under oath. When you're talking to the FBI, if you lie to the FBI, that is a felony. So that would already be a crime. All he has to do is go and talk to Mueller, the special counsel, and if he lies, he'll already be in. That'll already be a criminal violation. So, but he doesn't understand anything. He told the reporters that he's just fighting back, and he says, "You fight back? Oh, it's obstruction." No. There's two different ways of fighting back, which are very, very important. One is, hey, I didn't do it. Let me explain to you how I didn't do it. And here's my evidence for my no links to Russia. Or you don't have evidence and I can prove that, or I can show that to you, right? Or I can just flat out deny it. That's fighting back. And you've got every right to fight back in every way in that sense. The other way to fight back is what Trump is doing. Oh, the guy investigating me, I'm going to fire him. No, you can't. That's not fighting back. That's obstruction of justice. That's not saying I'm right about the case and I'm talking to investigators. That's saying I'm going to fire the cop who's on the case. I'm going to fire the detective on the case. In this case, it was FBI Director James Comey. They asked him why. He said, he was investigating me. He was investigating Russia, so I fired him. That's not fighting back. That's obstruction of justice. You can't end the investigation of yourself. But he's too stupid to understand that. And he's too stupid to understand that he has no chance of outwitting anyone, let alone Mueller, let alone anyone at the FBI. Okay, people familiar with Mr. Trump's thinking have long described private conversations with the president in which he has said he is eager to meet with Mr. Mueller, a product of his belief that he can sell or coax almost anyone into seeing things his way. Oh, please do that. Please, I'm begging you, do that. Oh, no, Donald, you are totally right. I bet that you are smarter than Robert Mueller. I mean, I know that you're a very stable genius. I know you're like a very smart person. So you scored a 30 out of 30 on a test that decided whether you have dementia or not. So you got this, brother. You got it, okay? Coach, I bet you talk Mueller out of it. Go for it. Now, here was Republican reaction to him thinking he could outsmart Robert Mueller.
No.
All right, they said, you sure you want to do this? He said, quote, I would love to do that. I'd like to do it as soon as possible. Another mistake. So then his lawyer, Ty Cobb, jumps in with his funny name and mustache. And he says, he's ready to meet with them, but he'll be guided by the advice of his personal counsel. In other words, you know what? I think we have video from his lawyer, too.
No! Bastard!
Okay, Christopher Ruddy is one of his better friends. They golf together all the time. They talk on the phone all the time, and he goes on TV and sticks up for Donald Trump. He runs Newsmax, a conservative outlet. He said, Trump should treat Mueller like a plague. He should assert executive privilege in every opportunity they can. In fact, we have a clip of Christopher Ruddy on television.
No! Oh, please, God, no!
Roger Stone says the president would be very poorly advised to give Mueller an interview. Roger Stone's a devious guy, but he ain't stupid. He's like, don't do it. Are you nuts? You're an idiot. In fact, one more, Roger Stone said, I find it to be a death wish. And added,
No!
Okay. Now, here comes other conservative figures to say likewise. Here's Rush Limbaugh.
There are conflicting opinions on whether or not Trump has to talk to Mueller, whether he should. He shouldn't. If you ask me, don't do it. I don't care what format. I don't care what circumstance. Just don't do it. There's nothing to gain, especially if they're off the collusion business. There's nothing to gain by talking to Mueller.
Oh, one more clip from Rush Limbaugh. Okay. Look, the reality is these guys know the same thing we know, which is Donald Trump's an idiot. He's not going to outsmart anyone, let alone Mueller. Second of all, he did it, so he's going to accidentally spill the beans, and then he won't be able to back out of it because lying to the FBI is a federal crime. So, but here, and all of his friends who claim on TV that they think he's a genius and all this stuff. Here's Lou Dobbs.
I mean, the president is insisting that he will speak with a special counsel.
I think all these leaks that we've gotten from the special counsel's office indicate that there isn't a there in terms of Trump colluding with Russia to steal an election, and that they are interested in coming up with something else to justify their probe. That's a trap, and he needs to be careful, and he needs to not, I know he thinks, well, he didn't do anything wrong, so what's the problem? Just talk to them. That's not how the FBI works. That's not how Mueller works. He needs to be thoughtful about this.
Right.
My favorite was Dobbs, like, oh, no, don't do that. Because even Dobbs knows he's a moron. Oh, sorry, one more from Dobbs. All right, last one, Napolitano. He agrees.
Says he's very eager, but you're the president's attorney. Would you have him sit down?
I would do everything I could to temper that eagerness. There's an old one-liner with which Ty Cobb is familiar. Don't talk to a guy that owns a grand jury, because he will find a way to trap you by reading to the grand jury what you told him and comparing it with other evidence. Never, 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 I can't say never enough. Let your client sit down with the prosecutors who are trying to develop a case against him. Never expect them to be fair. Never expect them to tell everything that they know. You will never know, and your client, the president, will never know everything that they know about him. It's a recipe for disaster.
Never, never, never. Recipe for disaster. Oh, right. One more from Napolitano. I think you get the point. All right, when we come back, man, the NRA still has not commented on whether they took money from the Russians and used it for Trump. Drums. Okay, look, taking money and using it in presidential elections from foreign governments is deeply illegal. Fascinating. We'll talk about it when we come back. Thanks for watching or listening to this free version of the Young Turks podcast. You know that the full show is at tytnetwork.com/join. If you become a member, you get the full show ad-free. We love you for watching or listening. Either way, there's going to be a new free podcast tomorrow. You can keep on doing that. But if you want to get the full show ad-free, tytnetwork.com/join. Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk, and I'll see you soon.